Hence also the care with which they guarded against all professions or engagements which implied an approbation of these defections and of the united constitution. They evinced this by declining to swear the usual public oaths at the expense of relinquishing privileges to which they were otherwise entitled, and of exposing themselves to the charge of disloyalty from those who were ignorant of their principles or disposed to misrepresent them. Here a footnote. Answers to Mr. Nairn, page 291. The inconsistency of an unqualified approbation of the present Constitution with adherence to a previous reformation is maintained by the Associate Presbytery in that public deed, the express design of which is to condemn, quote, the dangerous extreme which some had gone into of impugning the present civil authority over these nations and subjection thereunto in lawful commands, on account of the want of these qualifications magistrates ought to have by the word of God and our covenants, even although they allow us the free exercise of our religion, and are not manifestly unhinging the liberties of the kingdom, unquote. This is the fair amount of their principles on this head, and what they never sought to conceal from the beginning. But they, at the same time, denied that any minority, and far less that they themselves, as an ecclesiastical body, had any right to dictate laws to the nation. They reckoned that they did all that was incumbent on them, when they gave information and warning, as they were called from time to time, respecting public sins and duties, and when they continued to promote religious reformation within their own sphere. They did not stretch themselves beyond their line, nor suffer themselves to be diverted by the testimony which they bore against public evils from opposing those of a more private kind, and whose remedy lay more directly within their reach. Nor did they, it is hoped, become indifferent about those ends which ought to be kept immediately in view by every church of Christ, the salvation of sinners, and building up of saints on their most holy faith. They never judged that they had a call to address the throne or the legislature on the subject of religion, and they knew that no such change as they desired can take place in the national profession and laws with regard to it, until a previous change shall have been effected on the sentiments and inclinations of the various orders of the people. I know that it has now become fashionable to discredit this work, and to represent every appearance of attachment to it as a sure mark of bigotry, and a mind weakly wedded to ancient prejudices, or, as some modestly express it, to the relics of a barbarous age. To the most of our modern great pretenders to religion, the very name of a covenanted reformation is offensive and intolerable. Many who would still fain speak well of it look upon anything that was good in it as of temporary interest, and quite unsuitable to our times, while the greater part of those who once appeared as its avowed and sworn friends, after shrinking from the odium attached to it, and testifying their willingness to divide the cause, appear now to be ashamed even to name it. But is there any good reason for this? I may venture to assert that if ever all that was great and valuable to a people was concerned in any work, it was concerned in that under our consideration. The design was nothing less than the advancement of true religion in connection with liberty of religion, in all its extent, among individuals, families, and the public, and to the providing in the best manner for the continuance and perpetuity of it in the three kingdoms, that unborn posterity might reap the fruits, of the toil and travail and sufferings of their fathers, and might live happily in peace and in the fear of God. It proposed the correction of abuses which had long been matter of grievance, and the settlement of religion and church order on scriptural principles and agreeably to known and approved precedents, and not according to any visionary, hazardous, or untried scheme. It was the effect of long and ardent wishes and of many prayers. The wisest and most godly in Britain, from the commencement of the Reformation, had desired to see such a work, and hailed it at a distance. Providence afforded an opportunity for engaging in it when it was least expected, and for some time smiled on the attempt. Nor was it overturned until the benefits to be expected from it were attested in the experience of thousands, who till they had been almost total strangers to Christianity. Let sober thinkers only reflect for a moment what advantages would have ensued if religion had been settled agreeably to the Solemn League and the plan recommended by the Westminster Assembly, and if that settlement had been allowed to stand. Of what benefit would it have been to England if a lordly hierarchy, together with a burdensome and unprofitable mass of human rites and ceremonies, and an ignorant, idle, and scandalous clergy had been removed, and if, in their place, an evangelical, pious, laborious, and regular ministry had been settled in every parish, with elders to inspect the morals of the people, and deacons to attend to the wants of the poor, under the superintendence of presbyteries and synods, would not this have proved of incalculable advantage to that nation in a religious, moral, and political point of view? Would it not have been a powerful check on the spread of error, the increase of schism, and the prevalence of ignorance, profaneness, and vice? Of what benefit might it not have been before this day to unhappy Ireland, which has been perhaps more indebted to colonies from Scotland, and to the religion imported by them, than to any boon it has received from England? And would not great benefit have redounded from it to Scotland herself, whose ecclesiastical constitution and liberties, as well as the religious principles and habits of her people, have suffered so much formerly and of late from her intimate connection with a country in which a system opposite in various respects to hers has been established? If there is any truth in the representation now given, let me again ask, is it not matter of the deepest regret that this work should have been interrupted and overturned, that it continues still buried, that an opposite system was reared on its grave, which has been and still is productive of manifold evils? Are not these national sins? Is it possible to free them from the high aggravation of perfidy after the solemn pledges that were publicly exchanged and ratified? Is it not a great duty to testify against these sins and to seek a revival of that reformation? This is what has been done by seceders. If this forms their peculiarity, they have reason to glory in, not be ashamed of it. And the only real disgrace which they can incur is that which will attach to their withdrawing from the cause and deserting their good profession. In considering this case, there are two things which are very commonly overlooked and which merit particular attention. In the first place, it embraced a plan of religious union. This was its avowed object. It was so from the beginning, and was kept in eye through the whole progress of the work. Reformation was a means to this end. It was indeed absolutely necessary to the attainment of it. The corruptions retained in the English Church, the hierarchy with its usurped claims, temporal and spiritual, the liturgy, the total absence of all ecclesiastical discipline, a non-resident and non-preaching clergy, the Arminian and Popish errors which they had patronized, these, with various abuses connected with them, had proved a source of continued discord and division in England, had embroiled her with Scotland, and served as a wall of partition between her and all foreign churches professing the same faith. Until these evils were removed, it was vain to look for union either at home or abroad.